Welcome everybody to a rainy day in Los Angeles. We don't get rain too often, but it's kind of cozy, and I thought this would be the perfect time to do a Scotch tasting. So, as you can see, we've lined up an array of scotches. We have the very cheap, starting down here at 99 cents, a Lauders blend, and then we go up to $3.99 with a Dewar's 12-year blended Scotch, and then we'll head up to a Johnnie Walker Black Label 12-year blended Scotch at $4.99, and these are all in U.S. prices. And then we'll go to a Chivas Regal 12-year blended Scotch at $5.29. We put this the Glenlivet 14, even though it's $3.79 because it is a 14-year-old single malt this time. And then at $4.79, a Glenlivet 15-year-old single malt. And then we have a Dewar's 15-year-old Scotch blend. Is it a blend or a single malt? This is a blend at $6.99, and then an 18-year-old Dewar's blend at $7.99. So let's cleanse our palates. Some water. Cheers, friends. I also have some crackers on standby in case my palate gets blown out. Without further ado, let's try some Scotch. Okay, we start off with the little guy. It's a cheap one, and this is 99 cents. And we just need a little taste. Okay, so our first Scotch. At 99 cents. This is again as a Lauders. Never actually heard of it. Doesn't even say how old it is. Blended Scotch whiskey. I have no idea what to expect here, but it is from Glasgow. So maybe if you're a Glaswegian, you'll be very familiar with this particular Scotch. Oh, by the way, all Scotches, in order to be a Scotch, must be from Scotland. And there are different types of Scotch, of course, some more peaty than others. But we'll start off with the Lauders now. It's got a nice color to it. And the first sip of Lauders, let's see. You know what, I'm not going to lie. That is actually not a terrible tasting Scotch. It's kind of like a medium-bodied. I get light accents, very low on the peat. Some vanilla, not too much though. What else do I get in there? That's, wow, for its price. This is not a terrible Scotch. Let's see here. Wow. Well, I'm not gonna lie. That is way less terrible than I thought it was gonna be. Dude, I'm not sure what a full bottle of this would cost, but at only 99 cents, that is not a terrible buy. Moving on, I mean, hard to describe the flavors other than, like, it's very smooth. It's shockingly smooth. Yeah, shockingly smooth. So now we're going to go to a Dewar's 12-year. This is a 12-year blended Scotch. And let's try this one. Okay. Ooh, okay, hang on. So this price point is $3.99. Still, by no means a bank-breaking Scotch. Will this not screw back on? Once you pop it, you can't You can't unstop it. Wait, well, okay, I got it back on. Whew. All right. The first thing I notice has a much sweeter nose. Definitely more complex. And first sip. Okay, that is definitely a much more flavorful Scotch. This has much more robustness, wood notes, earth notes. Boy, that's no joke. That's delicious. So this is the Dewar's 12 year. Boy, I mean, I guess everybody wins right now. The first Scotch was not as good as this. I'm not gonna lie. This is a little sweeter. It's a little more complex. A little more complex. I mean, it's definitely just a better Scotch overall, for sure. And no, don't mind my snoring dog in the background. It adds ambiance to the rain, my friends. So I'm not gonna lie. I mean, the Lauders, not as good, for sure, but then that Dewar's 12, that's pretty tasty. Now we're gonna try the Johnnie Walker Black Label, which I'm sure most of us are familiar with. It is another 12-year blended Scotch, not a single malt. And let's see here. Okay. Johnnie Walker Black, 12-year blended. I almost think this is sweeter than the Dewar's. A very similar nose to the Dewar's. And have another sip of water. Okay. And let's see here. Johnnie Walker Black, 12-year. The Johnnie Walker Black is definitely, what's the word I'm looking for? It's spicier. Okay, the Johnnie Walker Black is not nearly as smooth as the Dewar's. It's more, it's got a sharpness to it. It has more peat. But if you are the kind of person that likes spicy notes, a little more heat in the back of your tongue, more of that, like, kind of like oaky peatiness, you know? Yeah. Definitely get much stronger notes of peat. And at $4.95, you know, honestly, for me, I would probably get the Dewar's at $3.99. I think it's a smoother Scotch, although it won't screw the top back on, which is a little obnoxious. But other than the fact that this is a single serving, the Dewar's is definitely smoother, more vanilla. The Johnnie Walker Black, peatier, spicier, more kick, if you will. But right now, the Dewar's is leading, and I would say our little Lauders friend is in third place, but that's to be expected. But again, the Lauders, not bad. And now we're moving on to $5.29 Chivas Regal 12-year blended Scotch. Chivas Regal 12-year blended Scotch at $5.29 for a single serving. Let's give her a taste. Okay. All right, so Chivas 12-year. Oops, I didn't get that button on right. 5:29. Let's see what the survey says. Nice nose. Definitely not as sharp as the Johnnie Walker. Almost get more cinnamon. Is that what I'm smelling? Certainly somewhere in between. Let's try it. Okay. The Chivas is more balanced. The Chivas is more... It's kind of like if the Johnnie Walker Black and the Dewar's 12 kind of had a baby. The Chivas 12 is... It's not as smooth as the Dewar's. A lovely nose. It's probably my favorite nose so far. And the flavor is very balanced. And that's a good sipping scotch. I think I would give the Dewar's an edge by maybe a nose. But I mean, you really could go either way. It just kind of depends if you like the spicier. Like the Johnnie Walker is definitely the spiciest. It's kind of like Jack Daniels, where it's like Jack Daniels has like a really strong flavor. You either kind of love it or you hate it. Johnnie Walker's kind of that way, whereas the Chivas is like, it's beefier flavored, spicier than the Dewar's, but not as intense and like overly peppery like the Johnnie Walker Black. All right, next scotch. So here we have our first single malt, a Glenlivet 14. Now this only cost $3.79. A single malt, by the way, just means that it is when the whiskey was put into a barrel, it lived in that one barrel its entire life until it was opened up. Whereas a blend, you are going to get multiple barrels, maybe even a few different years and different whiskeys that the master distillers are blending together for consistency. So a single malt can have more variation. Blendeds are designed to be really, really, really consistent. Is one better than the other? It really depends. Everybody, of course, raves, but I only drink single malts. But to be honest with you, the Chivas has been delightful so far, as was the Dewar's. And even our little buddy, the Lauders, was actually not terrible. Not as good as the others, but not terrible. Okay, Glenlivet 14. So aged for 14 years. Aged for 14 years in a barrel. And most of these scotches, by the way, use old American bourbon barrels, because the law in America states that a bourbon has to be in virgin oak. It cannot be used. So whoever made up that rule, but they cannot reuse their barrels. So what happens is bourbon manufacturers, Jim Beam, Woodford Reserve, Maker's Mark, after they use their barrels for aging, they send them over to Scotland to be then repurposed and used again as for their Scotch barrels. So let's try this Glenlivet 14. Oh, that's got a nice nose. Oh, I like this. Instantly, I get more notes of spice. There's like vanilla. There's definitely vanilla notes. There's a pepperiness, but it's not as strong as the Johnnie Walker. Let's give it a taste. Survey says. Boy, I like Glenlivet. There's something about Glenlivet. It is, to me, it's kind of like the Toyota of scotches. Like, it's just a really consistent, well-made Scotch. I think the flavor's more interesting. I think it has better peaty notes than the Dewar's without being, or the Chivas, without being as spicy and peppery as the Johnnie Walker. Boy, that is just... I'll tell you what, friends, you really cannot go wrong with a Glenlivet 14. Boy, that is nice. Earthy, balanced, not too sweet. It's just a really good Scotch. I'll tell you what, that is a smooth sipper. Alright, some water. And now we go for a Glenlivet 15, so one more year. Let's see what the difference in flavor is. So this is $4.79 for a little single serve. There's a single malt. Yeah, French Oak Reserve barrels. All right, let's try these. Let's see what this is like. Okay, let's see if we can taste the difference between the 14 and the 15. Very similar nose. Very similar nose to the 12, excuse me. Right, no, the 14, excuse me. Very similar nose. Ooh, instantly. Hang on now, hang on. Cherry notes. This is definitely, there's like a fruitiness in the Scotch. Not present in any of the others. I'm not mad at this at all. Does this say there's like a cherry oak cask? What did this say? No, just French Oak Reserve. Wow, well, for some reason, the first note that I get is like earthy cherries. I'm not mad at that. Let's give this a try. It's interesting because the cherry notes in the nose are not coming through in the sip. Let me clear my palate a little bit. Let me have a cracker. One second. So let me try this again now that I've just had a cracker. I definitely still get the fruitier note in the nose. Yep, the 14 is earthier. The 15 is a little sweeter. That is delightful. There's something about the combination of sweet and spicy that I'm getting with the 15. Like, again, the Johnnie Walker is like all pepper. If I go back here, definitely peatier and like spicier. Yeah, the Johnnie Walker has like a sharp finish, whereas like the Dewar's were much smoother. The Glenlivet is somewhere in between. It's more of a combination of the sweet notes, especially in the nose, enough pepper, but still smooth. And now we'll move on before I get too drunk and start slurring my words. I've only had about a little sip of it. You can see how much I've had of each, and I haven't even drank all of these, but before I get too drunk. Now we're going to try the Dewar's 15. Okay, so this is a blend. So we're going to try the blended Dewar's versus the single malt Glenlivet. Okay. All right. Okay, the blended Dewar's 15. Not as fruity. Certainly not as fruity on the nose. Medium earth. Medium. Not as... Oh, and by the way, this is $6.99, so the Dewar's 15 blend is so far the most expensive. We have one more to go after this. Let's taste it. How do I feel about that? It's earthier than the Glenlivet. About the same amount of spice. How does it compare to the Dewar's 12? Let's try the 12 again. The 12 instantly smells sweeter. Way sweeter. Yeah, the 15 is definitely richer, more robust. The 12 is more effervescent. I'm drinking the right one, right? Yeah, Dewar's 12 for $3.99. Man, you know what's crazy? I almost might prefer the 12 to the 15. And the price point, so $4 versus $7, so it's almost 30% cheaper. That's a significant amount, especially if you're buying like a full-size bottle. That 12 is significantly cheaper. I mean, the 15's good. I guess the 15's a little more complex. It's more notes on my tongue. Not sure it's worth the money though. Yeah. The Glenlivet. That's it. Okay, my final verdict. Hang on a second. Let's try the last one. Don't get me wrong. I'm not mad. The Johnnie Walker, I can kind of go either way, but I'm not mad at the Dewar's, the Chivas. I'm not mad at the Glenlivet 14, the 15, or the Dewar's 15. But if I was spending my own money, I'd probably get the Dewar's 12 because very tasty, very flavorful at not a quarter of the price, but like a third of the price. Okay, and the last one is the Dewar's 18 years. Now this is also a blended Scotch, but that's a long time to sit in a barrel, my friends. 18 years. Let's give her a taste. All right. Okay. Dewar's 18-year blended Scotch. Double-aged, extra smoothness. We'll see. I'll be the judge of that. All right. What does an 18-year-old blended Scotch taste like? Oh. Well, that's a different nose. So something fascinating happens when you age Scotch. Like all things, it sublimates. In other words, it's slowly evaporating now. The distillers call it the angel's share. So when you open up a barrel of Scotch that's been aging for, 20 years, a significant portion of that Scotch is going to be gone. It's just evaporated away, leaving a higher concentration of alcohol and more flavors of the oak that it was resting in for obvious reasons. It rested in the oak for longer. It takes on more of its flavors. Now there are some 30 plus or 27 plus chemicals in oak that taste like vanilla. It's got a very complex nose, I'm not gonna lie. This is the most complex nose of the three. The Glenlivet was the sweetest, the 15 was like the cherry nose. Boy, it's got an interesting nose. And again, I'm getting fruit, but more like, not cherries, more citrus. Maybe tangerine. Lemony, citrus, orange. It's hard to put my finger on. The Glenlivet fruitier. This more citrusy. Let me taste. Weird. The first sip almost had a surprising lack of flavor. However, it has a lovely, like, back of the mouth feel and flavor. Very smooth. Very smooth. But, I mean, if I'm being honest, I don't know if it's worth the extra money. I mean, is it delicious? It's delicious, okay? Would I say it's like double the deliciousness of the 12? No, it's different than the 12, that's for sure. It's less vanilla, more. Okay, well, this is more, maybe more peat. Medium spice. Medium spice. On the lower side. Like low medium spice. It's good. Not my favorite. It's good. It's very good. But I would say, you know, it's weird. It's like, just because something sat in a barrel longer does not necessarily mean you are going to like the flavor more, okay? Back to the, what is this, the Dewar's 15. I really can't taste a significant difference between the 15 and the 18. Not that it would change my mind about anything. So far, I think the Glens are in the lead. I think the Glenlivet 15 at $4.79 is a steal. I love that 15. And 14. Even as I stopped sipping on it, like there's just a niceness in the back end that I really appreciate. The 15's a little smoother than the 14 for sure. The 14 has more spice. So I think so far, right now, 15. And back to the Chivas. Very good. The Chivas and the Glenlivet 14 are both very good. I think my nod for value probably goes to the 14. Johnnie Walker's okay. The Dewar's 12. Again, first notes, vanilla, sweeter. Very tasty. And back to our humble beginnings. Although after tasting the other ones, going back to the original one, it definitely lacks some of the panache of these finer scotches, for sure. For sure. To me, for value and flavor, Glenlivet. Glenlivet. I give my nod to either the 14 or the 15. Depends on which way you want to go. A little more fruit, a little spicier. But that was fun. That was fun, team. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining me. And enjoy your scotch however way you want, with a rock or two or a splash of water or neat, however you enjoy it. And just don't overindulge, okay? All right, have a wonderful